You are welcome to Elombah television virtual interview tonight. Our topic tonight is Biafra Defacto Customary Government, the controversies between the Asari Dokubo group and the Biafra Elders Customary Government. Our guest tonight is Mr. Emeka Emekesiri Esquire. He is the Chairman, Governing Council, Customary Government of the Indigenous People of Biafra.
I thank you very much. I am Emekesiri, the chairman of the governing council of the customary government. The elders customary government. Now that there is confusion, we published a disclaimer that we are not part of the customary government announced by Asari Dokubo. Yeah, our explanation actually contained in that disclaimer we made. Yes, they are different now. I agree. They started a new form of customary government that is not what we agreed. Let me explain that there has been a call for a unity among the Biafran agitators. There has been a call, and we agree, yes. The elders started calling for unity since 2014. And of course, they said that we should continue to seek for unity and synergy among the Biafran agitators, and that we have continued that. So I reached out to Raf Wazirike last year, reached out to Asari Dokubo also, and said, let us sit down and think, plan how to work together, harmonize, synergize. Unfortunately, it did not happen that way because the day we were to meet, Asari Dokubo said that he will not be able to come to Owerri to meet. And he said because of security reasons. Then I called Wazirike, said, okay, can we now go to Bayelsa since Asari Dokubo will not be able to travel to Owerri? Wazirike said, oh, that he is going to Okwe to supervise works in his university site. But rather I should now go to Bayelsa, and I should go to Bayelsa and discuss with Asari. Then after, I will now come and discuss with him. I said, well, this is not what we agree. Why is it that it's not serious or what? Is this thing, is it not serious? Something that we have to sit down and discuss and agree on how to work together in unity and synergy. So eventually we did not have that meeting. Later, Uchemefo called me and said they are forming a group called Reconciliation Group. I said, okay, that's good. Reconciliation is good. And so we came together to do a kind of reconciliation. What do we reconcile? How do we reconcile? How do we harmonize our activities? Good. We agree that, okay, all the groups should maintain their structures, but then how do we harmonize so that we work in synergy and in unity? Then that was, the next thing I heard was they have formed a committee called Biafra Defacto Customary Government Implementation Committee. Okay, fine. I now put 5 questions. This implementation committee, who are the members of this implementation committee? 1. What is the implementation committee going to implement? 2. Which pro-Biafra groups are under this implementation committee? 3. Then the 4th one, what has been decided? Is there anything decided about the existing structures of all the groups? Then the 5th one, what about the existing structures like the government set up by different groups like the Biafrans in abroad said they created what they call Biafra government in exile. Wazirike created Biafra internal government. Then we have the customary government, which the elders created, and registered under a deed poll of customary governance registered by Nigerian government. So how do we harmonize all these structures so that we will not lose the gains? There are some gains and successes achieved by the various groups, so we can build upon the foundations, on the gains and the successes already achieved. They did not answer me up to today. How do we? Then the next thing I heard was an announcement that they have created. In fact, Asari Dokubo's announcement is that they will revive the 20 legally created provinces of Biafra. How? How? The fact is that upon the fall of Biafra, when Biafra collapsed in 1970, when the Republic of Biafra collapsed in 1970, all the laws and structures created by the Biafran government ceased to exist. So those provinces created by Biafran laws, all of them ceased to exist. So why are you creating 20 provinces? In which territory? Biafra is still within Nigerian territory now. We are a people living in Nigeria. You know, people should understand this thing. And, you know, our position is a bit precarious. We have to be careful because we have engaged with Nigerian government in law and in diplomacy. We are in court with Nigerian government. Our case is in the Court of Appeal. And we're also in the National Assembly where we filed our memorandum. So if we are seeking for prayers, there's prayers we have set before the court in the judiciary. We have also set prayers in the National Assembly. And then we turn around and we now take the laws into our hands, and now we declare 20 provinces as Biafran state. What do you think that the defendants will do? If the defendants find, oh, we're part of this, what they'll do is to go to court or get an injunction against us, stopping us from even presenting our position, our case in the National Assembly, because we have taken the laws into our hands, and we have also declared 20 provinces as Biafran state. So we have to be careful. This is not what we are talking about. We are talking about how do we implement. That's why it is called implementation committee. What are we implementing? And they didn't want to answer me. So, okay, since we don't know what we're implementing, we're not part of it. It's not that we don't want unity. We want unity, yes, we want unity, but then we don't want to make mistakes. So we are continuing. If they want the customary government to be the platform, fine, we build on the existing structure. It is a customary government established by the pool of customary government, duly registered under the Nigerian law. Nigeria registered this deed poll, and it is a legal instrument. For you to kick against the legal instrument, you have to go to court and get an order of the court to nullify the deed poll. So when we started the customary government,
we thank you, Mr. Emekesiri. Please correct me if I'm not pronouncing your name right. It's Mr. Emekesiri, right?
Emekesiri.
Okay, Mr. Emekesiri. All right.
I'm the son of Emekesiri.
All right. So before we go forward, some of the terms you use, let us try to explain it to our listeners. First of all, you talked about a deed pool of customary governance. So can you explain to us what this deed pool I'm streaming now, what is it all about?
Okay. Deed pool of customary governance is a legal instrument that creates customary government in the absence of a law passed by the House of Assembly. You know, for anything to have legitimacy, it must be anchored upon law. Fortunately for us, the Nigerian Constitution recognizes customary law and Sharia law. Now, customary governance is legitimate, but for it to be enforceable, there has to be an instrument. And that instrument is either you get the statute passed by the House of Assembly or you create it by deed. The difference is that if the state passes the law, then it becomes a state organ and the state will now finance it. Just like the Sharia government in the north, the states in the north are financing it. The states in the north are financing the Sharia government because their houses of assembly passed the law, passed the bill into law. But the states in the east are not financing us because maybe, I don't know, some people accuse them of whatever. They don't want to spend the security votes they get. They don't want to spend it to run a customary government, to organize the people as an alternative government structure. As it is now, the Sharia government territory has an alternative structure. If Nigeria breaks up now, all they will do now is to make a law, a transition law, transferring powers of the state to the Sharia government, and they continue their life. They have a structure in place. But our own people, they don't want to do the same thing. So what we now did was to create our customary governance by deed. But then it means that we will run it by ourselves without government responsibility. In other words, we cannot say that the state government have responsibility to finance us. We finance it by ourselves. So that's the difference.
Okay, now now that you are financing it, what activities have you been able to carry out under this deed pool you've created?
I have told you that we're already in the Court of Appeal.
Yes.
And it is okay, and we have filed our memorandum in the National Assembly. This is memorandum for devolution of power.
I will get to that. I'll get to that memorandum very soon. I want to clarify. Then, yes, go ahead.
Good. And then we have contacted other countries. For instance, we have discussed with other governments. We have, in fact, let me mention it. British government is one of them. We have had discussions with them. Malaysia government. In fact, yesterday, second, we had meetings. So we are already talking with other government. In fact, Australia government was the first to invite us a long time ago. So we are working on it, you know. So there is a structure already on the ground.
Okay.
If we want to build, we build on the structure.
Okay, we thank you. Our next question will be reading this deed poll now. Whereas whereas the legal entity known as IPOB is registered by the British government number so and so under the laws of England and Wales, with power to represent all indigenous people of Biafra and the customary government of indigenous people of Biafra, both in Nigeria and in all countries of the world. Then it goes on to enumerate several other things. The first question that will come to the mind of someone like me reading this is, a lot of people are also aware of the IPOB being led by Mazen Nnamdi Kanu. How is this? Is it the same thing? This IPOB mentioned in A1 here, is it the same IPOB that is being led by Mazen Nnamdi Kanu?
No, it's not. It's not. What happened was, for those of you who know the story, Nnamdi was with us. Nnamdi came from Masob and joined us. And we felt that he had talent in broadcasting, media works, and he was put in media department. It was from there he now used the media power to do what he did, and said that the elders, he had dissolved the elders, and that he is now the leader, and so on. Well, that's a long story. I think people know about it.
Yes, I just want to clarify this one. Now, if you will oblige us, let's go to the other matter which I'm stop screening. Okay, let me bring out the memorandum now, so that we also understand the. I think I had the memorandum initially. So that you were about to explain the memorandum, but I cut you short. But it's better to, no, not this one. Okay, sorry. I'll get the memorandum. Okay, can you explain to us what that memorandum, because it's very interesting actually. Because it was talking about a memorandum submitted to the, yes, I have it now. Please oblige me.
Yeah.
So that when people are looking at it, they will better understand what you are saying. So let me stream it now so that they will be following. All right, please explain this memorandum for devolution of power to us, please.
Okay. The thing is that in 1994, the Biafra elders met at Enugu and created, or drew a map, a road map for our self-determination. That was when these 6 regions were created at Enugu. Before, it was actually made in preparation for 1995 Abacha conference. So they now sent Alex Kweme, Desambakwe, and Odmegojuku, who presented our position. Fortunately, it was adopted and accepted. And the plan is that Nigeria will now be restructured into 6 regions. We succeeded. Ultimately, the regions will eventually be autonomous, and in future, any region that wants to gain outright independence can now pass the bill of referendum in its regional parliament. But for now, what we want is regional autonomy for Nigeria. We have now 6 regions. Now, if you look at this memorandum, you see it is marked without prejudice. It means that what we are trying to settle out of court, because the prayers we have in court, most of them are contained in the memorandum. So when we met with other world powers, and they said they will never allow Nigeria to break up. I just want to let you understand that Biafran case is not a domestic affair. It's an international matter. Many countries, powerful countries, are interested in whatever happens to Nigeria. And we have met with them. And they're all saying that they will never allow Nigeria to break up. So in our discussions with them, we now understood where their mind is going. They said they are willing to allow, or they are willing to support, let me not use the word allow as if they are, but they are willing to support restructuring of Nigeria so that every region will be autonomous, just like we have the model in Britain, where we have the 4 nations in one, Scotland, England, Ireland, Wales, 4 nations in one Great Britain. So such an arrangement, such a political arrangement or model will be helpful to Nigeria. So that is the thinking in the international community, because people, they are apprehensive of what will happen should Nigeria disintegrate. Eventually, to restructure. If you look at that list they produced, items 2, 3, 4. Item 2 is on restructuring, devolution of power, coming from the Senate. That yes, they are willing to restructure, devolve power to the regions. Then item 3, 4, they are talking about fiscal federalism and allocation of resources. And so at that point, we made inquiries. We called the Senate. We made inquiries, and they said, okay, we should go ahead and file our memorandum. But considering that we are in court with the defendants, anything we are discussing should be without prejudice, so that the defendants will not use it against us. So we now filed our memorandum, and at exactly what we are asking, we are getting it. We say, okay, if we get it from the legislature, it is still the same thing, because we now want to amend sections 1 and 2 of the Nigerian Constitution, section 3 of the Nigerian Constitution, section 162 of the Nigerian Constitution, then the Land Use Act, then the Petroleum Act, and then the Oil Minerals Act, and then Oil Pipelines Act. We want to all those laws to be amended. So if we get what we are looking for from the legislature, then we will withdraw our case from the court. Otherwise, we continue this case or the international court. So, you know that the law allows parties to settle out of court. So parties that are in court, they can as well settle out of court. So we feel, okay, the defendants may want us to settle out of court by now giving us what we want through the legislature. So that is why, if you take your time and read the memorandum, you will see the details of what we want. And if we get it from the legislature, we withdraw our case from the Court of Appeal. Otherwise, we are going after Court of Appeal to Supreme Court from the International Court. So the issue is that we want freedom within Nigeria first. That's the regional autonomy first, before thinking of outright independence. Because we considered everything, all the factors. We did feasibility and viability studies of the Biafra project to know what we ought to do now. And the only one that is feasible now is regional autonomy.
Okay, we thank you. Now, I would like to ask some other questions concerning other groups now, because last week we are having a discussion here, and it appears that there is another group called Biafran Government in Exile. I don't know whether you heard of that one. That we have.
Yes, Biafra, I have heard of that.
Okay,
yeah.
Biafran Government in Exile. Now we have also this IPOB, and now we have Biafra Defacto Government. How would you? Are you saying that to go for outright Biafra now is not possible, and that is why you opt for regional autonomy first?
Okay, that's a good question. I said that we conducted feasibility and viability studies. I'm not only a lawyer, I'm also evaluation appraiser. I'm also evaluation appraiser, evaluation scientist. I do feasibility studies of projects. So feasibility and viability answers two questions. When first is feasibility, feasible. Is it feasible? Is it doable? Is it possible? Is it achievable? Looking at all the factors, considering all factors, is it possible? Is it doable? That is question of feasibility. Now, when you consider it is feasible, doable, you also look at whether it is doable immediately or by phases. Some complex projects, we phase them out, like phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 project, if the project is complicated or complex. So Biafran project is one of such complex projects that you can't get it at once now, but you will get it in phases. Phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, until you get the final stage. And that's why we are now in the what we call phase 2, because phase 1 is awareness creation, which has been achieved. Phase 2 is regional autonomy. It is now when we have regional autonomy, we govern ourselves, we now exercise the power, or in fact we learn, because in the regional autonomy, you learn the art of governance. And it is now when we learn the art of governance, after many years, if the people now decide to pull out, they now pass the bill of referendum in their regional parliament for the people to vote yes or no, just like Scotland is doing now. So it has to be a gradual process. So the feasibility aspect of it, it is feasible, but it is feasible in phases. So we look at the feasibility. When you now consider feasibility, you go into viability. Is it viable? In other words, is it really worth it? Is it worthwhile? Is it something pursuing? Is it worth pursuing? Or is it going to be a Pyrrhic victory where victor is worse off?
All right.
So
thank you. Thank you. Before I go on, let me quickly tell all our listeners that you are free to ask questions starting now. We've now had this discussion now. So at this point, anyone who wants to ask questions can simply use the device to raise up your hand, indicate, and then I will call you up for your questions. If you don't want to ask questions directly, you can type your questions on the chat room, then I will pick it up and pose the question to our guest. Mr. Emekesiri, let me ask this question now. What is the state of the court case now you have with the Nigeria government? What is happening with it at the moment?
We are now in the Court of Appeal. We have filed our appellant's brief and given Nigeria time to respond. Nigeria has not responded. So we have done our part. So, you know, when a matter goes to the Court of Appeal, there are stages, there are processes. So we have done our part, waiting for Nigeria now to respond to our appellant's brief.
Okay, what happened at the Court of First Instance before you went to Court of Appeal? Can you
High Court.
The High Court. That's the Court of First Instance. Yeah. What happened to it?
Yeah, you're right.
What happened there?
When we went to Court of First Instance, that's the High Court. The judge of the Federal High Court, he dismissed our case. He was saying, in fact, the same question, he was saying that the customary government of Indigenous Biafra is the same thing as Nnamdi Kanu's group, and the Nnamdi Kanu's group was was outlawed, and since that was outlawed, that is the same one. So, but we presented evidence that there are two different organizations, two different bodies. So, but the judge of the court of first instance made a mistake by equating us with Nnamdi Kanu, and we have gone to appeal. So that's part of it.
Thank you very much. Now let's call on Tango Ugochukwu, please. You can unmute yourself and ask your question. Tango, please. Mr. Ugochukwu, please unmute yourself and ask your question. Mr. Ugochukwu.
Okay, Kita Kamel Mahmoud. You know what going Kita?
Yes, go ahead, sir.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Kita. I have unmuted myself. Are you hearing me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. Barrister Emeka.
Sir.
Ewe madu dunto bejo wanlem.
Hello, sir.
Ancha bibu adu fefia kabakara na chu.
Oh, is you?
So, Biafra bu ka ancha. Onye bu better Biafra than each other. And if na agba ngari ebo, muni abu mu iche before o makari na me kwampoto mande tolo no mande tolo abu ko monyo bona kwacha foku. Nye my little advice. Man ihe na eme bu ife nchoro ejo ife ni lekwu na egente. Can it consider possible when you are known judge, you are known enemy became your judge? What confusion are in there? I can't maybe gasly. And they put about the enemy of the problem anyway. How do you hope that any good thing will come from them?
That's all right. The first question. We don't think that we shall get justice in Nigeria. We only now say that Nigerian judge will give us justice. Only know in the dream world. Nigerian court will not give us justice. We know that. But the rule in international law, if you want to go for self-determination using the rule of law, the rule is that you must start within the jurisdiction where you are being persecuted. And if they deny you justice, then you go out to international court. We have other international court. Even ECOWAS court is an international court. AU court is an international court, even before going outside Africa. And in recent times, we have seen ECOWAS court and AU court giving judgments against Nigerian government. So the first thing is that we have to obey the rules. And that is, you have to start within the jurisdiction where your complaint is coming out. That is Nigerian jurisdiction. That's why we are there. Secondly, the importance of starting in Nigeria is to give us what is called judicial immunity. Judicial immunity means that when two people are in court, they are protected. Judicial immunity covers them, and no party will disturb the other one, arrest the other one, or molest the other one until the case is over. That is why all the Biafrans that are with us, none of them has been arrested or molested or abused by Nigerian authorities, because if they try it, they will know it is against the law. In fact, there was a time they made such a mistake when we had our office at Owerri. They went there and arrested 2 of our officers. And they called me. I had to call the Attorney General of the Federation. As I was calling Attorney General, Ezozobo and Achuze, then they were alive. They were calling Asorok. But that is, they now, Asorok now and Attorney General, they said, they didn't know. They thought it is some Nnamdi Kanu's group. They released our officers immediately and apologized. Said they were sorry. They didn't know it was a mistake. Because it is against the law for a party in a case to go and disturb the other party when the case has not finished. So that is judicial immunity. That's why you can see me and the people with me. We go on the street. We are free in Nigeria. We go enter the offices of Nigerian governments and we argue our case front in their faces and nobody will touch us because judicial immunity covers us. I agree with you that Nigeria can be lawless, but judicial immunity covers parties in the case. So that is a second advantage of it. Then there's a third advantage, which is also putting pressure on Nigeria. And that's why part of it is now they are calling for resolution of this case in the National Assembly, because they know they will be disgraced. So they now have to now say, okay, you can bring your proposal, you can bring your memorandum to National Assembly, so that if the National Assembly gives us what we want, we withdraw our case. So these are plans, strategies. Eventually, if we don't get what we want in Nigeria, we move out to the international court. But then before that time, something must have happened. And that's why the restructuring is now being drummed into them, and they want to do it.
Okay, Mr. Ugochukwu, do you have a follow-up question before we go to another person? All right, if not, let's call on Mazi HTM Okoye, please. You can unmute yourself and ask your question. Mazi HTM Okoye.
Hello, Barrister, how are you?
Hey, brother, long time.
I know. I've been listening to you, and I'm quite confused with regards to your contention with the Reconciliation Committee. You know, you and I, we've known each other, and we've had conversations in the past. But what confuses me is that I thought you're part of the leadership of that committee, but you're speaking as if you're an outsider being brought in to do a particular job, which to my knowledge, that is not the case. How do you square, because I don't understand your contention with the group, whilst I understood that you're part of the leadership of that group. So your questions that you're raising about what they should do, about the implementation and what the implementation has to be, are you not part of that group, leadership, or do you see yourself as an outsider? I don't understand.
Okay. Now, if I was part of the leadership, why did I not see an address that was delivered by Asari Dokubo to say that we are creating, or we are now reviving 20 provinces of Biafra, legally created Biafran provinces, legally created by Biafra? How is it possible that we are in court? I am in court with the defendants, Nigeria. And at the same time, I'm saying that I'm creating 20 provinces to be called Biafra state, taking the laws into my hand. So if I were part of the leadership, why didn't I see that thing before it was announced? And you know that if we being the plaintiffs in the court, we are the plaintiffs in the court, if it is proved that we are in support of it, then it is easy for the defendants to go and get an injunction stopping us, in fact, striking out our case, or even stopping us from presenting our case in the National Assembly, because we have already got our 20 provinces of Biafra.
So your contention is that you're not aware of the announcements or the plans that Asari Dokubo announced.
Good. So if you want me to be part of it from the beginning, then I will know what you are doing. So we're not part of it. How will I now, tomorrow, the defendants will go and file an injunction against me because now I called the Senate. The Senate said they are now getting ready for us to come and present this in the public hearing. Then before public hearing, they'll bring injunction against us, so stopping us because we have created our 20 provinces. How will it work?
To my knowledge, I thought you have representatives there that goes to meeting before that group was launched. There is representatives from you that goes to the meetings of these people, of the meetings of this reconciliation committee before the group was actually formed.
Okay.
Were they not?
No, I never. No. The only thing we agreed was every group should maintain its structures. That's it. That's the only thing we agreed. And then the next thing should have been, now that every group maintains its structures, how do we now harmonize our operations? Then before that thing, we now had an announcement. You are creating 20 provinces, legally created provinces of Biafra. Which Biafra? You know that Biafra does not exist anymore. But we, the human beings, exist. You should always understand it, that the Biafra Republic has ceased to exist. What exists now, the human beings living in Nigeria. Human beings, Biafrans, that's why we call indigenous people of Biafra. Human beings living in Nigerian territory. You must understand it.
There is another issue here, Barrister, which I wanted to understand, because you speak as if you. I don't understand this, because I believe that you understand what was going on before this get to where it is. Now, according to your own understanding, where do we go from here? How do you remedy the situation with it? Because we have to come together at the end of the day.
Exactly.
Like you said, the customary government, the facto customary government, is legitimate. Like you said, is legitimate. So how do you remedy the situation if it's legitimate?
There is foundation already laid. You build on the foundation already laid. You don't destroy that foundation, you build upon the foundation already made.
So
how can that be done? How can that be done?
How can that be done? How do you do that?
Good now. That is it. Then you go back to the original, go back to the foundation, and now start implementing what the original said, which is what we have.
I wanted to call Jones has just left. He's been raising up his hand, unfortunately. We have some questions on the chat room, which I would like to read out. The first question is, how many Biafra are we talking about now? It looks as if there are so many Biafran organizations in place. There are also so many IPOB organizations as well. So how many Biafrans now are we talking about? Do you have anything to say on that?
That is the question I asked. In fact, I asked five questions. How many pro-Biafra groups have come under this implementation committee? And how many are there? And then what is the implementation committee going to implement? What about the structures already in place created by the groups? How do we harmonize them so that we build upon the successes and the gains already achieved? These are some things that have to be agreed on. You don't just come and announce that you have created 20 provinces of Biafra state in Nigeria.
So, sorry if I may interject here. From what you are saying now, it appears that your only problem with this de facto customary government is the creation of these 20 provinces you are hammering about. Am I correct? I think that is the import of Mazi HDM question as well. Is your problem just that this caretaker implementation committee went ahead and created these 20 provinces, which in your view is not legitimate, or that you are not being carried along, or what exactly is your grounds with this implementation committee?
We have already stated it. We made it in our disclaimer that we are not part of it. We don't know what they're implementing. We don't know how many Biafra groups that are coming together. The 5 questions are clearly stated there, which I mentioned when I introduced this discussion. So, and we cannot do anything that will prejudice and jeopardize our case with Nigerian government. We're in court with Nigeria. We're in the National Assembly with Nigeria. We will not do anything that will give them opportunity to knock us off balance. We can't do that.
Yeah, but Mazi HDM Okoye is saying that you sent representatives to the meetings that were held before the announcement.
I never instructed or permitted or gave consent to whatever they announced.
Okay. We call on Samuel Biro, please, to unmute yourself and ask your question. Samuel?
I don't have a question to ask, but I just want to clarify a little on the position of Barrister Emeka Emekesiri. I can understand from the beginning what he's trying to let us understand. He has laid the foundation on legality, and he wants everything we do in pursuit of the reconciliation or Biafran struggle to fall in line with the rules, so that the defendants wouldn't have any opportunity, because they are the state and they have upper hand in everything we do. So I believe that whatever we should do should be in line with the laws of Nigeria, because there are loopholes. And I still remember my law background. Says Lord Magnotin says, I see nothing wrong in law when a prudent businessman utilizes the loopholes in law to enrich himself. So we should be able to use the loopholes in Nigerian law to advance our struggle. So whatever is not legal in the process is what Barrister Emeka is trying to avoid, because our own foundation has been on the legal process. So if it is outside the legal process, I think I would be a bit skeptical about the same thing too. That's all I just wanted to say. Thank you.
All right. Lord Chigi, please, you can now unmute yourself and ask your question. Lord Chigi, please unmute yourself and ask your question.
Yeah, hello everybody. Good evening. Thank you very much, Ben, for yeah. Thank you, Dan Elombah, for organizing this. And then it's my pleasure to see Emekesiri again. We had a nice time in our school, a couple of
yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Good. It's good to see you again. Thank you. So my question, I have two questions. Number one is, what importance you place on the name Biafra that is making you to insist on using it? Because now we have Emeka's group and we have Asari Dokubo and then yours. You know, you get that was one of the problems he had in the High Court, and then I think court may still, because they will rather probably find it easier to model everybody together, and then it's easy for them. You know, so must still be Biafra the name. You know, that's number one. Then number two, can you give us an example of countries that have successfully pursued the same line of action like you? You know, I overheard you talking about deed and stuff like that. So has that been a country that did that successfully and drove it to fruition? Thank you very much.
Okay. First one is the name Biafra. Well, many people are averse to that name. Many people want us to drop that name Biafra. But we will not drop it. You know, there's something called balance of power. There's something that makes your enemy to be apprehensive, to be afraid. And that name Biafra actually makes Nigeria to be afraid. And if we lose our right to the use of the name Biafra, then that thing that keeps them sleepless, that makes them not sleep, that thing will be removed, and they will now calm down and say, after all, nobody is talking about Biafra anymore. At the moment, some people are saying Biafra is a metaphor. A metaphor in the sense that Biafra now connotes freedom, justice, equity, fairness, you know, metaphor. Some people, in fact, recently, Chido Nwangu wrote a book, We Are All Biafrans, which Atiku Abubakar wrote the forward for. We are all Biafrans. In other words, Biafra is like a metaphor for freedom, peace, equity, justice. But we say it goes beyond being a metaphor. It goes beyond being a real identity for a people. We argued it in court that Biafra, what ceased to exist was the sovereignty of Biafra. The Republic of Biafra ceased to exist, but the individual, the human being, did not cease to exist. that if Nigeria had annihilated Biafra, just like Rome annihilated Carthage, we would have said, okay, Biafra has ceased to exist. But Nigeria failed to annihilate us. And if they failed to annihilate us, then the remnants of the land are the indigenous people of the land. That's why we are called indigenous people of Biafra. The remnants would now succeed. And in fact, the law of Nigeria says the remnants of the land will now have the right to self-determination. So, apart from being a metaphor for justice and fairness, it's also identity of a people. This identity of a people for which millions of people have died. Nigeria cannot escape from it. Now, you're asking, must it be Biafra? No, it mustn't be named Biafra. It mustn't be the name Biafra. For instance, if we get the regional autonomy we are getting now, if we get the regional autonomy where every region will govern itself now, develop at its own pace now, with its own regional parliament, its own regional constitution, just like you have in Scotland, you have in the United States of America, every state has its own constitution. If we get to that stage, you can see that you have got to that Biafra may not actually be the ultimate, but you have got something that is akin to the Biafra you are looking for. Maybe that is the second stage. Hopefully the third one may be if you want to pull out entirely. If you want to pull out entirely. But let us get to the second stage of regional autonomy where you will now be on your own, govern yourself, develop at your own pace, just like we have in developed countries, in Europe, in a United Kingdom, in America, and other places. So that's how I've answered that question, that it mustn't be the name Biafra for now, but let us get regional autonomy. Then your second question is there any country that has used this method? Yeah, this method of legal methodology is what the international community recommends now. The United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People, which Nigeria also adopted as its laws, says that you have the right to agitate for self-determination by means acceptable by international community. And the means now is a legal method, that's the due process. Nobody wants violence. And that's why we are using the due process. So asking me whether any country has used it. Yes, many countries have used the due process, which culminates in referendum, in devolution of power, in agreement to separate legally without fighting. So that can be achieved. The other alternative is violence, which nobody's praying for. So if we don't want to use the legal method, the due process, then the only alternative must be violence.
All right, we thank you. There's a question in the chat room. Thank you very much, our guest. Do you please agree with this statement in our chat room that the problem we have in the leadership of Biafra Nation is, one, lack of unity at the top, so many groups causing violence, and number two, too much hunger for fat checks. In other words, greed.
Okay. The two questions, one is disunity, leadership disunity, right? The second one is greed. Let me answer the two. Leadership disunity. I think what we can say is that every group thinks that it knows better. And if you don't accept superior argument, it doesn't show that you are wise. When we came into the struggle and introduced the legal method, people said I was mad, that it's not possible, that legal method cannot work. All the people that are now talking about this customary government, they all opposed me. They said it cannot work. Good. So you can see what we mean by leadership disunity. At that moment, they did not agree with me. They said legal method cannot work. But I persisted. The elders accepted. In fact, I thank God for them that they understood. They said that they have purchased, they have bought this vision. It is possible. It may take time. Eventually, that's where we are now. Legal method, diplomacy, good. So the second one is greed, fact check, greed. Well, listen, I think I will say that I am the only practicing barrister and solicitor of Supreme Court of Nigeria and solicitor of England and Wales and chartered estate surveyor and valuer, still practicing. I'm the only practicing, but I'm still in the Biafran struggle, using my own money. The person that asked that question now, please tell the world whether you have given me anything, you have made any donation to me. The person that asked that question, tell the world now if you have transferred any 1 naira to me. Show us where you transferred it now. I use my own money. So we're talking about fact check and greed.
Well, he may not be referring to you. He's only asking it as a general question. So please, let's call on Mazi Samume, please, or Chief Samume. If you're raising up his hand, and if you can please unmute yourself and ask your question, sir. Can you please unmute yourself, sir?
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, I can.
Yeah. Because actually, I'm my question to Emeka.
Now you could let him go.
Who is my friend? I've been my friend for years, and I believe in what he's doing. Because only question in Chago to read you, Emeka. They can hear for na enwere customary government na Emeka nọ na ya, uche mefọ nọrọ na ya, Dokubo nọrọ na ya. Mana ihe Emeka na-akọwara anyị na mgbede a now, does it mean na uche mefọ na Dokubo created 20 autonomous local government or whatever they created? Or na ha esoghị Emeka eme ihe akịta ọ na ha eme now?
Him na-asị bụ nke ha na-eme abụghị nke anyị na-eme. Ka m kwuo n'Igbo, nke ha na-eme abụghị nke anyị na-eme.
Right.
Nke anyị na-eme bụ nke ndị elders kwadoro from the beginning, from 1994. The elders dere the map, nye anyị map, nye anyị na-eme.
Yes. Now, ọ bụrụ na etu ahụ, o nwere etu isi wee kwuo na because uche onye ọbụla dịka ndị mmadụ ha nọ n'akụkụ ebe a na-ebelieve na etu ederi na Emeka emesiri iwe onye bụ ekwucha ọgwụ n'ime gọọmenti Dokubo. Na uche abụrụ sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. So na Emeka emesiri na Dokubo na uche mefọ nọ na ọha na-achị this customary government. This is the belief as at the time Munga John did something now. Most people believe. Mana ihe na akọwazi na na-egosi na ikwuzi iche na uche mefọ na Dokubo esoghị na ihe anyị na-eme now. So ihe na-ajụ onwe na-etu izu wepụtakwa na n'ụwa gwakwa ụwa sị na ihe edere afọ gị na ịnọ nwuti ndị adagara ha nọ because na ha ekweghị na ihe otu kwuru.
Ndewo sir. Ndewo sir. Oh, eziokwu anyị edele ya anyị na-akpọ disclaimer.
Okay. Okay.
Disclaimer. Okay. Ndị onye nọ na igwe ji kpọọ m sị ka ha jụọ m ajụjụ ọnụ na ha hụ disclaimer anyị de.
Okay. Biko ewe n'iwe ihe mere ewe mgbe onye dictator ọhụrụ ụtụtụ ya na mụnwa amaghị. Now, dịka iji anyị na-eje na mụnwa na onwe m ọ bụrụ taa ka mma onye ewe na ihe ị na-eme kama na ihe mere ewu dịka anyị na ha ekwu na mgbe ibido ihe lekọ gọọmenti ihe na people na-ata ịghọta. Yes, mụnwa witness just like mgbe ebidoro redio ndị jizi ndị ati redio were aka ego they are against ndị bidoro the radio which you know about.
Radio.
So which you know about. Now, ọ bụghị ofu ụzọ ka esi aga Lagos.
Yeah.
O dependere nke ịma. But na dịka nna m na-agwa m sị m na ọsọsọ Chineke m onye na-aga ụka. So na ihe local gọọmenti ihe local autonomous anyị na ha ekwu na fine. O nwere mgbe ị kpọrọ Scotland aha Scotland enwere independence, where constitution nke ha. Wales nwere their own constitution, where their own flag. The same thing with England. The same thing with Northern Ireland. Before ha jikọta ọnụ, wee nọkete wee sị ka ha form one united country. Barcelona, ka ọ bụ gị na a na-ekwu na Spain, ha nwere their own country, where their own independence, where their own constitution. Before ha machịkọta ha ọnụ, mana nke anyị bụ ndị Igbo, nke Biafra na ọ dị iche. So e nwere ụzọ ọzọ which you know very, very, very well, because o nwere mgbe about 5-7 years ago, in Nigeria wee kpọm, o nwere nọmba onye nyere gị imitiri. Gụnwa hụ na mmadụ ka nọ n'ala Igbo. Na e nwere ụzọ ọzọ a ga-esi ga-enweta ihe a na-ekwu in terms of politics. But ihe na-agwa gị bụ dịka ndị Igbo na-agbasasị ka mkpụrụ ụkpaka. Marakwa na a na-esi ụkwa, na o nwere ihe a na-eti n'ụkwa. Na ọ bụrụ na eti ihe ahụ n'ụkwa, ụkwa ha agaghị eghe eghe. So na ihe anyị na-eme, mụnwa na onwe m kwadoro ya, plus ndị ọzọ furu etu esi eme ya. Mana ndị a na-eme nke cotton nail na-achọ ego ha na-eti n'akpa ha. Let us face the truth. So na ihe anyị na-akọwa bụ etu anyị si akọwara ya ndị mmadụ, ndị ga-aghọta ha aghọta, ndị akọkwara ha aghọta, hapụ ya. So mana ebe ịkọwago na ihe Dokubo na Uche Mefo na gị nwa na onwe ọnwụ na-atọ ka edepụtara, nekwe na ha esoghị na nke a, fine. All to go clear now.
All right. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Let's call on Njenje Media TV, please. If you can unmute yourself, Mazito Chukwu is okay. Please to ask your question.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. Emeka, Ekenemgi. Thank you for having this conversation. I believe in conversing because people think that conversation is a waste of time, but conversation is actually a way of action. Now, I need to piggyback on something someone asked you before, which is legal process. Are you able to say countries that has gotten to their destination via the legal process, and they do as you know, if okay, as a pickup of that, another question will be the political process. I remember when you know, I think Anambra election 2017, there was this movement called mobbing.
Yeah, that's our movement.
Yes, so which was meant to be a political angle to the struggle. Now, the question will be, one is a legal process. I would want you to expatiate and give instances, countries that have gotten there through the legal process. The other one is, don't you think that the political process is a more viable and more, obviously, you know, probably a more sustainable way of getting to the destination? Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. When people talk about legal process, I think they tend to think about judicial process. There are two different things. Legal method means judicial method and the political method. That is legal methodology. But when we talk about legal method, people tend to think about court. Court is not just court. Legal method means legal methodology, which is judicial, political. So remember that our filing this thing in the National Assembly is to make a law. We filed a memorandum now in the National Assembly to make a law creating the regional autonomy. We went to court, asking the court to make an order compelling the defendants to bring executive bill to the National Assembly to create the regional autonomy. So we're talking about legal methodology, not just the court. It's not just going to court, but using the power of the judiciary to make the defendants to obey and comply with what we are asking for. So now concerning using the power of the judiciary to create a territory, we saw that one when the judiciary, the international court, separated a part of Nigeria and now became part of Cameroon. It is judicial power anyway. It is by judicial power, because that case, Cameroon took Nigeria to court. That case went to the international court for 20 years, from 1984 to 2002, I think 2002 or something. Eventually, part of Nigeria now, Bakassi part, is now ceded to Cameroon by judicial power, by order of the court. That is an example of what the court can do. But at this moment, what we're asking the court to do is an order compelling Nigerian government to bring a bill, executive bill, to the National Assembly. But while we are pursuing that case, we now went to discuss with some world powers who now spoke to Nigerian government. Nigerian government now agreed to restructure, devolve power. And that is why the Senate now sent their notice. Item number 2 in that notice, if you remember, item number 2 in that notice is devolution of power, restructuring. And then they now advised us to bring our memorandum to the National Assembly. And if they grant it, that is the same thing. That's legal process. Legal process does not mean only court order, but legal process, going through the law. So the legislature, the National Assembly makes the law. It's still a legal process. That is on that note. Then the other one is mobbing, political arm. Good. We said, okay, we are Nigerians and we have the right to participate in Nigerian politics. And we are Biafrans and we have the right to identify ourselves as Biafrans in Nigeria. That was another problem we had. Because when we started campaigning for Biafran candidates, Nigerian government was not happy with me. In fact, some of them were calling me from Abuja and said that why should I turn Nigerian politics into Biafran activism? And I said, but we are Biafrans living in Nigeria. We have the right to put any candidate of our choice. So we cannot deny our identity. We are Biafrans. And if we want a Biafran activist to occupy a position, we have the right to vote him into power. And that's what we wanted to do. So Mobbing believes that the Biafran activists should occupy positions of power in the region, in our region. And if we do that, we will get our people in power. Then we now begin to show them what that Biafra is like. Now every person is complaining that the governors are not doing well, or our governor, or the legislators, or our chairman of the local governments are not doing well, and so on. Okay, let the Biafran activists enter there and let's see how they will perform. So let Biafran activists take over power, and then show us example of how their dream Biafra will be. That's why we want to take power, want to be in government. We want Biafran activists to be in government. We want Biafran activists to become governors and legislators, members of House of Assembly, chairman of local government. We want Biafran activists to take over. That is the political aspect of it. And if we are there, we get political power, then other things will follow. At least our House of Assembly can make laws that are beneficial to Biafrans.
Okay, we thank you because our time is running out. Let's call on Wisdom, please. Unmute yourself and ask your question, and then we take from Chief Sanya following you. Wisdom, please.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, sir. Unmute yourself.
Thank you very much.
Who is unmuting you? Who is muting you again when you've already started? Please unmute yourself again.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah.
So thank you for having all of you and having me here. I am very happy to hear this discussion because without us discussing amongst ourselves, we will not be able to arrive at a kind of a template of what we need to do. Just like this Sam said, There is no one way of going to Lagos and Abuja. Some can go through different directions depending on where they are. So what I wanted to say, Barrister has just said it now about the political process. Okay, you can see like this I mentioned about Scotland and Wales and all of the nations that made up the United Kingdom. Well, these nations that are still agitating to be independent of the United Kingdom, even though they have autonomy. So they were actually conquered by the English kings and forced into the union of the United Kingdom. They didn't come together to agree to be in the United Kingdom. They were English kings actually fought against the Scottish monarchy and conquered them, subdued them, and brought them into their nation. And then they formed to make peace. There was what they call the War of the Roses, when the House of Lancaster and the House of England, fought. So now at the end of that war, there was a peace treaty, and then that was why they joined together the flag of Wales, the cross of St. George, and the lion of the English king to make up the Union Jack. What am I trying to say here? For the fact that they were conquered and forced in, and now they are seeking independence. What they have currently is autonomy. So right now they are seeking for independence from the United Kingdom. That's why you have the SNP, who is in power, incidentally, in Scotland, agitating that if they win the next regional election coming up in May this year, they are going to move a motion in their parliament for independence of Scotland. So we don't need to be running helter-skelter, heating up the polity, creating problems, insecurity in our land in the name or in the guise of we are looking for Biafra. I'm very much against it. We don't need to heat up our politics. What we need to do is this. We have a chance coming up in 2023. Why can't us, through mobbing or other political platforms, now we have a kind of an agreement and bring out our own representatives to various governmental positions, governors, senators, House of Assembly, states, and House of Assemblies, states, and national. So that when these people goes in there as a governor, it was the governor of Zamfara State that initiated the Sharia court and the Sharia process in the north. And now most of the states there are operating on that. They have a Sharia police, which is like Emeka said, if Nigeria should split up tomorrow now, they already have a platform to continue their own governance. So if our people should understand this and be able to come into the political process of it. Imagine if we win an Imo State governor or we win an Abia State governor, and then in that Abia State House of Assembly, we have members in the House of Assembly who are pro-Biafra, and then they make law that they are going to start implementing, one form, something about the what is it called again? Something about our freedom. They make a law that, okay, right now, our customary government is going to start up. Now we are going to have our customary Ndinche securities. Police. Our land. They will be working together with the Nigerian police and the army to secure our land. And this, just like they have Amotekun, it was this regional ideological governors in the Southwest, this regional ideological house of members in the Southwest that gave Amotekun the legalization which they have today to operate. Someone can be talking about ESN. ESN cannot come out like Amotekun. We know that. Amotekun comes to the other day, Amotekun made Galifa Yemi one of their, I think, patron or what, something like that. They're doing things in the open, collaborating in the open, arresting airing herdsmen and bringing them to the police. We can see, even with their cows, and so this is one problem we are having. Everybody wants to be the king. Everybody wants to be. Why should the faction of Asari Dokubo and Wazirike go and make a customary government when already there's a customary government? Why don't they, since they're already talking with Barrister Emeka and the leadership of the customary government instituted by the elders? Yeah, let's say Joe Akuzie, let's say somebody as prominent and eminent as Dr. Dozie Kedipe. Why didn't they come together since they're already talking to organize so that we start step by step? We say, okay, we're going to bring our candidate now for so governor, so in Anambra, for instance. Now we can start talking to people like Professor Soludo. We can even, mend ways, agree, make plans. Talk to them. I believe if we talk to some of the political bigwigs,
all right, we thank you.
Understand what we are talking about. So we don't need to fight. We don't need to quarrel. We don't need to heat up our politics. We don't need to cause insecurity in our land for the sake of looking for Biafra. This is my own. This is my for even Nigeria as well. Even Nigeria as well. We don't need to cause. We don't need to fight again to gain independence. We can use, just like we have been saying, the loopholes that we have to achieve this thing peacefully. Thank you very much.
We thank you. Before we call on our guests to respond to you, to what you've said, let's take on other questions as well because our time is running. Chief CBN Onwaswanya, please unmute yourself and ask your question. Please unmute yourself. Unmute yourself, please, and ask your question.
Yes. Mgbede ọma onye ọbụla.
Ndewo.
Ekele dịrị onye ọbụla nke onye chiri ya rie, o chiri ka o chiri ya rie. Ndụ mmere ndụ azụ ndụ nwoke ndụ nwanyị, nwoke biri nwanyị biri, onye anwụ na ibe ya efuna. Ọkwa na-enweghị nghọta bụ ihe na-ese okwu. Ụfọdụ n'ime ụnụ ma ọ bụ ihe ka n'ọnụ ọgụgụ na-ahụkwa ihe ụfọdụ m na-ede. Mgbe ụfọdụ ndị ya ọ dịka ihe egwu, mgbe ụfọdụ ndị ya ọ dịka ihe kọmedi dịka ndị oyibo na-ekwu, mgbe ụfọdụ ndị direct, ụfọdụ bịa ha challenge na bekee m sụrụ ma ha ghọtara ihe m na-ekwu. Ihe nji wee chọọ ịsụ Igbo bụ na ahụrụ m na ihe ka n'ọnụ ọgụgụ nọ n'ebe a bụ ndị Igbo. Maka ndị Igbo na-ekwu okwu sị na achị isi asị asụrụ oyibo na oyibo bụ ihe eji aghọrị mmadụ. Ihe gbasara independent ma ọ Biafra, ọ dị ụzọ abụọ eji enweta, either through war or through political means, nke ọtụtụ n'ime unu kwuru. Ekelere mmadụ dịka Emekesiri, kelekwe Sam Biro, kelekwe Sam Ume na onye ikpeazụ Wisdom kwukwere okwu kwuo. Ọ bụrụ na anyị bụ ndị Igbo na-asa, ọ bụrụ na a gbara afọ agụ ha ọfụma na anyị jikọtara onwe anyị aka ọnụ ma ọ na anyị chọrọ, ọ bụghị na achọghị. Echetara mgbe anyị niile na-eme nzukọ ma redio Biafra, Nnamdi Kanu nọkwa ya. Asị nkwuo, ọtụtụ n'ime ụnụ ma Emeka emesiri asụ na ndị sisi hapụ Nnamdi hapụ nsị asụ na Nnamdi Kanu ga-emebi Biafra na egwu a na-agba ọ ga-ayaghasị ya. Nke Asari Dokubo pụtaziri bụrụ online president Biafra. Ndị o tiri aha ya na aha ya. O nwere otu ihe m mụtara. Ọ bụ eziokwu na lọọ ma agụchaghị ya agụcha. Nwoke ike bụrụ na agụchara m ahụ mme lọya mana ama m ndị bụ lọyas. Ọ sị na ihe gbasara Biafra na ọ bụrụ na onye ọbụla chọkwara ịba political party na anyị nwere ike ịba all political party ma bụrụ n'uche na anyị chọrọ ime gịnị Biafra. Ịba anyị na parliament mara ihe ibu n'obi. Ewere ya mee politics si na ọ bago political party. Ọ bụrụ na anyị nwa bụrụ ndị Igbo, ọtụtụ ndị n'obodo ndị ọzọ ma ọ ndị Hausa Fulani nwa nwa ihu ma azụ, enweghị onye kwurukwuo nke ndị Yoruba, ha haziri ya ahazi jikọta aka ọnụ. Onwe obodo ga-asị na ha mere ihe ọjọọ, ma mmadụ biri na comfortable zone inye ụmụaka sị ha pụọ jee challenge authority na ha nọ n'ime ọhịa. Nke a mmadụ ime onwe ya criminal. Onwe defense at all. Onweghị ebe a ga-agbado ụkwụ. Iwusi ọbara na-ewute m rinne. Violent na-ewute m rinne. Bụragodi n'obodo a, imepụ mmadụ ọbara, ofu onye nwụrụ, onye isi obodo a ga-ajụ ajụjụ ya. Mana dịka nna m na-atụ ilu sị, n'obodo na-amaghị ihe eji mmadụ eme na aja ha na mmadụ ha were sụọ. Ndị a na-edinye ụmụaka ha ji eji lụọ ọgụ ha isi ene na ha na-challenge the authority. Ma ha bi na comfortable zone. The former president of Nigeria, Nnamdi Azikiwe, na onye na-amaghị ihe na-challenge onye bụ egbe na-abara ya mba. Mgbe egbe aha ma mgbe ọ dị ya ma mgbe adịghị ya. Ike ha nọkọta na-agbara authority mba si akịtịkpa gba ukwe gị nne gị nkwa nna gị nkwa. Isi na bekee anaghị eme ihe a jụọ gị tax nna gị na ha akwụghị tax. Ọ na-agba authority ha ji pawa. Mana ọ bụrụ na anyị ma ihe jikọta onwe anyị aka ọnụ wetuo obi ala, anyị ga-eme ihe niile a chọrọ. Achọọ Biafra 3 na 5 a ga-enweta. Maka na Biafra kịta online Biafra karịrị 17. Ọ bụzi ihe eji akpa ego. Ị gaa na house Google ọ Biafra, ịhụ company Biafra dị iche dịka ndị Igbo na-enwe forming. How can you unite? So many Igbo organizations. Na London nke a enwere 100 Igbo organization. How can you fight? Di na nwunye nwere, enyi na enyi nwere. Onye kpe ibe na phone or form one nke su okpukoro Igbo nnele. How can you do something? Ọ bụghị otu ha ka ndị ma Scotland na ndị ekwuru si wee mee. Ihe m na-achọ ha bụ ngwụsị ọbara. Ọ ya ka m ga-ede ihe m na-ede. Na amago m apụtago presidential aspirant 2023. Onye si na okwukwe ya dị mma na all these recycle politicians edowego m 5 billion pounds to challenge any recycle politicians ga-adị clean. Maybe forensic account.
5 billion or 5 million?
5 billion pounds, British pound sterling. I'm not joking. Any recycled politician will agree forensic account and win. I will surrender my presidential aspirant 2023. And I'm going to give 5 billion pounds. I need Nigeria to be great. Biafra culture. I need Biafra clean Biafra. Biafra na agbabu mmadụ na-egbu isi ọbara. Igbu isi ụmụnna gị oje echewe onye.
Okay. Thank you very much, sir. Finally, we take question from Mr. Obidi Obienu, please, and then we go back to our guest. Mr. Obidi Obienu, please, can you unmute yourself?
Okay, thank you very much, the host, and thank you for all the speakers. I joined late, but I came in when Barry. And when he said a lot of things that he said, yeah, that's why I said I'm gonna ask just a question to him. I want to find out if Barrister Emeka can tell this forum if he's not aware of the implementation committee for Biafra Defacto Government, Customary Government. That's a question for Barrister Emeka, because he's pretty, let him answer that question. Yeah. Then the other one is the former speaker, the previous speaker before the last one, said so many things about politics in Nigeria and stuff like that. I want to ask him, is he aware why there is APGA? And where have we gone with that, all these years? All the people that were put there to do the needful. I wasn't even aware of everything when all these arrangements started. And today they have all sold out. And we are talking about political process. And it's sometimes it's worrisome when our people are using England and developed world to give examples. And we're not looking at what is happening at home. as if you want to come out and run for election that you get the vote. People are not even allowed to vote. People are not allowed to cast their vote. Let's talk about you getting that vote. So sometimes we must tell ourselves the truth. The truth is, as much as we love Nigeria, we want Nigeria to continue, we are not wanted. We are not part of Nigeria. They have told us clearly in words and in attitudes that we are not part of the process. If anybody is one Nigeria, that's the Igbo people, that's the Biafrans. Because we are the ones that goes all over Nigeria, building, developing, making things happen. And what do we get intermittently is destruction of properties and telling us go back to where you come from. And it's sad that people who should be talking in the right direction are here lying, denying of things that are physical there. You can rightly see that happening. Last election, the Igbos were denied to vote in Lagos. And we're here talking 2023. I mean, I can understand the frustration of people, because that's the frustration that the people that consider themselves leaders are not doing. They're not leading. They are leading based on their pockets. So we must tell ourselves the truth. Unless we'll all perish, it doesn't matter how long. It's just going to keep creeping in until it gets to a point that probably we know. I'm not in support of anybody that is talking about, fighting or doing all kinds of drama to get money for their pocket. But we must tell ourselves the truth. And I had people talking about Asari has made himself president of Biafra. He did not. It was clear on his maiden broadcast. I think Brother Elombah, the presenter, if I'm not mistaken, you were the one that came in the other day on the 18th of March and asked questions. This is implementation committee. Show yourself available. If the Northerners have customary courts, Sharia, the Yorubas have theirs. What is wrong with us? Why can't we be respected for who we are? Does Biafra take somebody's food on the table? We are not looking at just mentioning Biafra and you are being killed. And we're here talking about all kinds of things that we are going to do in Nigeria. We must tell ourselves the truth for us to get out of this mess. Otherwise, the roads we are building right now is going to consume all of us. It's just going to take for a while. Thank you very much, my brother. And thank you for the opportunity given me.
All right, so let's allow our guest now. I hope he will remember all these comments. And so please address them one by one.
Yeah, actually, the first question is for me, directed to me. The other one directed to somebody who talked about 2023 election or politics and so on. But then the first question is, am I not aware of the implementation committee? Yes, I'm aware of the implementation committee. And that was why I asked the questions when it was being formed. I said, who are members of this implementation committee? 1, 2, what is the implementation committee going to implement? 3, how many pro-Biafra groups, or who are the pro-Biafra groups that have come under this implementation committee? Then 4, what has been decided about the existing structures of the different organizations? Then 5, what about the government created by the organizations like the people in abroad that have Biafra government in exile, or was it a group that has Biafra internal government, and our own that is customary government, which the elders created? So how do we harmonize these things? Then I said number 2 is very important. What is the implementation committee going to implement? So this question, each time I ask this question, these 5 questions, each time I ask these 5 questions, all I will receive are attacks and insults and calling names and things like that. I said, this is not right. We need to understand what we are doing. There are the organization, the different groups have achieved some successes, some gains. How do we harmonize and build upon the foundation already laid so we don't lose? We can build upon the successes of the gains already achieved by various organizations. How do we harmonize this thing? Each time I ask these questions, all I will get to call him bad names and things like that. I kept asking these questions. And then the next announcement is the broadcast. And well, my brother, I will not allow myself to go into an error because I'm already in court. Like I have told you, I'm a practicing lawyer. I'm the only practicing lawyer that is a Biafran activist. What I mean by practicing lawyer was that I feed from law practice. I feed, and it's from my law practice that I make money to even do what I'm doing, to even pursue this struggle. So I cannot allow myself to take a wrong step. I cannot allow that. So I don't want to give the defendants an opportunity to hit me below the belt because I was still in court with them. Then on the other side of the politics, I have said that we want Biafra activists to take over power in our region, in Biafra land, so we can have Biafra governors, members of House of Assembly.
Yes, Mr. Emekesiri, if I may interject here, Mr. Obienu is asking, considering the political situation in Nigeria now, where our votes don't count, how feasible will it be for Biafra activists to win power in eastern Nigeria and get into government to implement Biafran policies? How feasible will that be?
Okay. Assuming that all the Biafran activists now agree with us, the political method, and we have somebody like you or Elder Obienu who now says, he wants to be the governor of Anambra State, or he wants to be a governor of Abia State, or any of the states in Biafra land. And all of us come out and say, this is our candidate, and we want to put him in power. Tell me who will stop us. Because if they want fight, we can fight. We have the youth to fight, to protect our votes. You see, there's something that happened in Imo State in those days. When we fought to put Okorocha there, we didn't know who he was, but he came up with a good advertisement. And we said that this is the person we want. Do you know that we voted and made sure that our votes counted? That is, we fought to keep him. So Biafrans can do it. Because if we have the youths who can fight, if he says fight, because during voting there can be fights, and we have people who can fight. There is righteous fight, there's righteous anger.
We thank you again. We thank you again. This example of Okorocha you have just given, he also mentioned that some Nigerians will get into power and forget whatever he has promised you about Biafra. Look at you gave Okorocha example now.
What I mean is a Biafran activist. I'm not saying a Biafran. Just a Biafran activist is what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about these people who say they are Biafrans. I'm talking about a Biafran activist to get into power. Because a Biafran activist has a passion, he has a vision, he knows what he's going for. When he goes in there, he will do it. We're not talking about just any Igbo man or any Biafran. No, an activist is what I'm talking about.
All right, let's call on our time very soon. Now we'll be rounding up. Mr. Stephen Eba, please, can you unmute yourself and ask your question? Mr. Stephen.
Steve Eba, it's a long time. Is he here?
He's here.
Hey, brother Steve.
Stephen, please, can you unmute yourself?
Oh, no, maybe he's not hearing me.
He's here. Mr. Eba, please, can you unmute yourself?
Yeah, okay, okay,
yes.
I've omitted myself. I just wanted to some few clarification. Presently, I know we have over 66 pro-Biafran groups agitating for the for Biafra, and within that we have, from what is happening now, it looks like we have 3 customary governments groups that is answering customary governments. One is the one under the original one, which you are aware, which was under that was formed as late as 2012. Which Amadi is now is handling, which has an office at Wedra Road, Owerri. And then I think it's Professor Dike, that is their barrister, that is representing that particular customary government in court in Abuja. Then we have the Mobin one, which you are handling now, which is also in court under the same customary government. And now we have another customary government, the de facto government, customary government, under this Asari Dokubo group. So that is where I'm confused now, as where we are going with how many customary governments do we have now, and what do you think? How do you think all this is can be? So just explain it to a layperson, like someone like myself. I can't be able to make head and tail out of the whole situation as how we can harmonize those 3 customary governments, or can Biafra have 3 customary governments all running parallel?
Okay, that's a good question. What I'm laughing is that when the issue of the use of customary law to applying the customary law to Biafra agitation, I'm surprised, and well, I'm not surprised. Let me say I'm happy that many people are now understanding that it is possible to use customary law. It's good. Let them all start springing up, customary governments here and there. Let them all start springing up. But what we are talking about is our customary government is established by a legal instrument registered by the Nigerian government, deed poll of customary governance. And any person who wants to challenge this deed poll of customary governance, any person who wants to challenge it should go to court and get an order of the court to nullify it. It's a legal instrument. So you can't just start customary government on air. There has to be basis of it. Yes, people can spring up and carry many customary governments and create their own customary laws. Let them continue creating. But there is the one that has legitimacy. What you're talking about, the case that is in Abuja, is the one filed by Biafra Human Rights Initiative. I started that case. I initiated, I created it. It is here in London that I did all the casework. It is here. I did everything and then filed it. So if you look at that case, it says, Incorporated Trustees of Biafra Human Rights Initiative representing indigenous people of Biafra. It is not customary government that sued. This case we have now in court, in the Court of Appeal, is the only case that has customary government of indigenous people of Biafra versus Federal Republic of Nigeria and Attorney General of the Federation. Because the first case I filed, I used the human rights organization called Biafra Human Rights Initiative to file it. You know what happened? Engineer Amadi, who I put there as the leader of Biafra Human Rights Initiative, because I cannot be, I needed somebody who I will use his name to write, to put, so that when the case is called up, somebody will stand up while I talk as a lawyer. So I put him there, used his name and made the papers. Now, eventually, he's the one now who they all ganged up and pushed me away. No problem, go ahead. So that case is between Biafra Human Rights Initiative representing indigenous people of Biafra versus Federal Republic of Nigeria. It is not customary government of indigenous people of Biafra versus Federal Republic of Nigeria and Attorney General. So there are two different things, and the issues in the two cases are different issues. So that is the problem. So the one of Asari Dokubo, you have heard what I said, that yes, when we were talked about coming together to agree, unite, I was the person who took in the initiative. I called Wazirike, called Asari Dokubo, said, let us meet at Owerri. And then Asari Dokubo said, oh, that he cannot come to Owerri because of security reasons. Then I called Wazirike. So, okay, well, let the two of us go to Bayelsa State and meet. He said, oh, that he's busy with he's doing supervision of works in his university at Okwe. But that I should go to Bayelsa and meet with Asari. And after meeting with Asari in Bayelsa State, then I should now make a time and come and meet him at Owerri. Then I'm coming from Enugu. I said, why? We are three of us, we have to sit down and talk. So now I said, okay, see, since there's no time, you people are too busy. The other, so okay, that means we can meet. Then that is, before this, you have to sit down. There are existing structures already so that we can sit down and harmonize how to work together. So there can be blunder. I will not allow myself to be railroaded into blunder. I cannot. I'm a lawyer practicing both in England and in Nigeria. And I have practicing certificate, which I don't want anything to happen to. So I practice this law, and I am a Biafran activist, but I am careful not to breach any law. So the customary government, which I am talking about, is the one that the original one, which I created by the grace of God. I created it by my own writing. Every lawyer creates and puts his seal. The seal there. Every lawyer has a seal. So the one you are running, who created it? But under what legal instrument was it created? You can create more customary governments if you like.
Okay, let's call on Captain Casimir Wafa, please. If you can unmute yourself and ask your question, please. Casimir. And then we'll start rounding up because we've run over time already. Apologies to our guests, we are running over time. Casimir, please ask your question and then we'll round up.
Thank you very much.
Hey, my
Nico, let me start by greeting everybody.
My Leonard friend.
Thank you. I send my greetings to Emeka, Emekesiri is there, and Ogekba and many of them. Please, I want to thank you for this forum. You know, the issue of these divisions and the Biafran family and the struggle is really a disturbing issue. And I think it's one of the things that is drawing us back from achieving substance. We go one step forward, they will go 3 steps backward. And I don't think we can achieve anything in this unity. This issue of who will be the boss or who will be the chairman or who will be, is really giving us a big problem. And until we come out of that, I think we still have a long way to go. But straight to the point, how do we come out of this problem? How do we reconcile? Because it's a pity that maybe the other groups are not here. I've only seen Barrister Emeka. Maybe if there is an opportunity to have them together in one forum, maybe this one speak, this one speak, we're able to get, and then we're able to know how we can call them. Somebody must call these people together. We cannot continue to leave it like that, lingering. There must be a way to bring together all these factions and this. They have energies. They are all good. Both both the other person. They have something good in them and something negative. We can make use of those positives and get something achieved. That is my major problem. If I can even have the numbers of most of them, I can even start making calls. Let's meet. Let's see how we can synergize. Drop all these problems. All this it's me, it's me, it's me. Let us focus. There is so much work to be done. 2023 is around the corner. We are still here speaking grammar and fighting. Before you know it, that one will pass. We'll continue again, and it's not taking us anywhere. Our governors are not equally helping, but it is only when we are united that the governors can hear you. When they look at you as you are just scattered, they will think, I don't know those who are just businessmen. But if we're able to have a joint and united body, you see, Amotoku is a small thing. We can have better than Amotoku in Southeast. But because of the way we are divided and scattered. If ESN will come, which is good, what they are doing, governors will say no. Oh, yeah, governors, bring out your own now. No way. Somebody must push them. Somebody must push these governors. I believe it is more of what we can do. It's not those people on the street. They're only looking for what they will eat. They don't understand the problem. It is me and you and others that understand the problem at hand. And we are the only ones who can move these governors to do the needful. So please, I'm begging, I'm asking, I don't know, maybe people who can contribute. How do we solve these problems? How do we bring ourselves together? And then how do we now go on from there? See if we can have some reconciliations and then go forward. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Okay. Sorry, Barrister, please. Let's take Mr. Obienu so that you just comment on them together and then give your concluding speech because we'll round up. Mr. Obienu, please, can you quickly make a comment in 2 minutes and then we ask our guest to respond to the question asked by Captain Kasmi and Waf, and then you give us your concluding speech. Can you please unmute yourself, sir? Mr. Obienu, yeah, please. Yes. I think you are muted again. Can you please unmute yourself? I think something is always going wrong here. Okay, let me ask you to unmute you. Okay, unmute yourself now, sir.
Okay.
Good.
Thank you so very much, my brother. Thank you. I just asked Barrister Emeka a question for clarification, but he went ahead and started in his usual way to make allegations here. I don't know Barrister Emeka before. I happened to know him a couple of months ago, and it was as a result of a reconciliation. For the brother that talking about reconciliation, there's reconciliation ongoing, so please make yourself available. Again, I want to reiterate that Asari is not the president of Biafra Defacto Government. He's just the chairman of the committee to put this customary government, de facto government, in place. Emeka was in this forum, all the meetings. It wasn't one-day meeting. It was a series of meetings. Bring your documents, whatever we are missing in your document, whatever you think that we can do to get our people together. Emeka had all these opportunities. He never showed up. He would send 2 delegates, which is Mrs. Anebogo and one Dr. Abo, and they're supposed to represent his group. We have Bim Masob, Chief Wazirike. We have BNC, which is about 14 different pro-Biafra groups. We have some of us who are dissatisfied with the incitement and the behavior of Mazen Nandekan, because that's why we left IPOB. We didn't like the way he's now setting our people up, and that's why we left. So there are so many of us in that forum. There are people from one on any, all these people are real people who are passionate about Biafra situation. And Emeka had all these opportunities to bring whatever, Barrister Emeka, sorry, I want to respect you, but at the same time, you must know that your profession as a lawyer does not put you ahead of everybody. There are people that are traders. There are people in the medicine. There are engineers. Okay, what is the body system, for instance? The head will never tell the arm, you know, because I'm the head, you don't have a function. And that is the problem I found within knowing you for these few days. You are so selfish on these issues. You are practicing lawyer, practicing London and everything has nothing to do with your freedom. You can practice anything and a Fulani man that is rare as a cow, boo-boos on your head. Okay, until we get out of that mentality and start telling ourselves the truth. You have every opportunity to lay down what you want us to do in that reconciliation forum, but you failed. Even at the announcement, you were called in as the legal advisor, which means we know you can give some your skills to developing this government. But what you did was And immediately after the announcement, you started throwing tantrums. That's not acceptable. This is not a behavior of an adult. If you're truly telling yourself, telling yourself the truth, thinking about your generations to come, this behavior you're putting up here is not acceptable.
All right, we thank you very much.
That's all I can tell you.
All right, we thank you, sir. Mr. Emeka, now if you can simply respond, not in terms, but how do we progress with reconciliation of all these disparate Biafra groups? How do we proceed with reconciliation?
I said that we don't destroy foundations already built, that we build upon existing structures and foundations. That's what I said. That was why I asked those 5 questions. Now, he made a statement that I had the opportunity. How? They said we should send delegates. He mentioned 2 delegates that came from us, Rita Nibog and Abo. When they came back, what I asked them, what has been decided, they said that what is decided that every group should maintain its structures. That was what I was told. Good, but that is not enough. If we maintain our structures, how do we build? How do we harmonize? These are why I asked those questions. And those questions remain unanswered. So how will I now continue with what I do not know? That is an answer to this. He's saying that my profession as a lawyer does not have anything to do with freedom. No problem. That's not an issue.
Yes, that is why, if you pardon me, please, that is why I said I wouldn't want you to start responding in kind. What we want now is, okay, what is the way forward?
Exactly. That's why I said that's not an issue.
Yes.
Whether my profession that's not an issue. Now, the way forward is we must build on the foundation of the elders.
Yes, how can that be done? How, in practical terms, how could that be done? If you don't mind, sir.
Fine. We will go back from where we started. We go back and start again and start building from where we started. So those who rejected the customary government of the elders must come back to the elders. In fact, customary governance is governance of the elders, by the way. So, and it's not just every person's, creating his own customary government.
Okay, if you don't mind asking this, this elders customary governments, some of us will want to know who among them do we still have around, because okay, we know Elder Ikedife is no longer around. Ozobu, I think he's also no longer around. Then Joe Achuzia, I think Achuzia is still around.
No, Achuzia is dead.
Okay, so all these elders, most of them are now no longer with us. So who are the elders now who make up these elders customary government?
We have reconstituted the elders. We reconstituted the council of elders. So maybe by next week you will get the names. There are traditional rulers who are, in fact, well, it may not be necessary for me now to start mentioning their names, but by next week you will see the names of the people who have taken over, who have taken over from the previous members of the council. So that's it. It's reconstituted.
Yeah.
So,
why I ask this question is because Casimir, I don't want to use his first name. Let me get, sorry, pardon me. Yeah, Mr. Obienu mentioned something of that structure, and then Maze Samume also. All these people, Chief Ezendibo, all these people spoke in terms of reconciliation. So that's why maybe they're also wondering who will be the elders now, seeing that the ones they know are no longer around. Who will be the elders that will now maybe take the lead in reconciling all these pro-Biafra groups? Because it now appears that, what I understand, correct me if I'm wrong, that at the beginning of these de facto customary governments, it appears we were consulted. However, along the line, maybe you are not happy with the decision that are ultimately taken. So I think what is now agitating their minds is, how will this de facto customary government be reconciled with your own, the customary government that you happen to be the chairman of the governing council? And then maybe these elders you are now reconstituting, how will they all be? Even if possible, even reconciling and the Kano's IPOB as well. How will all these groups be reconciled?
Well, you reconcile things that are reconcilable. You reconcile things that are reconcilable. Because if, like the scripture said, two cannot work together except they be agreed. Now that we are talking about using legal methodology, which involves judicial and political process, and some people say they don't believe in it. They don't believe in political process. So you can see that you reconcile things that are reconcilable. So when we get to that stage, we now know those that believe in what we believe and those that don't believe. Well, we believe in political process, but there are those who say they don't believe in it. So you see, so we have our elders, like I said, the elders have been reconstituted. The Council of Elders has been reconstituted. But by next week, you will hear the names of the people that make up the Council of Elders, you know. So that's what I will say. That's what I will say for now.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Emekesiri, Esquire, the Chairman, Governing Council, the customary government of Biafra. Thank you very much. You spent almost 2 hours now speaking to us. We thank you very much for honoring our invitation. It's not easy to speak for 2 hours. Well, Casimir, you mentioned about how do the other members of the group, they are not here. We planned that this event that Emeka will speak from 6 to 7, and then Uchemefo will continue from 7 to 8. Unfortunately, at the very last minute, Uchemefo backed out. He sent us a message that due to family circumstances, he will not be able to honor our invitation. So I just want to make that clear, because many people will be wondering. We announced Uchemefo will be here by 7, but he is not here. So this is what happened. This is why it is not us, it is Uchemefo that backed out. He cited reasons. I don't know what the reasons are, but hopefully next time we'll be able to have him. And please, when we close, we will allow our guests to rest. I would please request that if you want to, please stay behind. There are sensitive issues that we will like to raise up, and we will see. We will not record it. We will not stream it live, but we'll just have that heart-to-heart conversation to see the way forward. Thank you very much, our guest. Emeka, thank you very much. We enjoyed this outing.
Thank you.